You're listening to Z Games, recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios and broadcast across Brisbane on 102.1 FM. Z Games brings you the best in gaming news, reviews, community and culture. Want to reach out across the void? Text in on 0420 626 733. Happy Halloween! Hello and welcome to Z Games. I hope you enjoyed that nice little spoopy intro there. Just for today, I'm Evie and I'm here with...
Kochie.
Rani.
Milly.
Oh my goodness. We're getting good at this.
We're getting good at it. We know our own names. One day we will know each other's names.
We'll just replace each other's names one day.
Yeah.
Do the opposite.
Steve, Bob, Scott. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a straight man podcast.
Yeah, weird how I went with those names, right? Yeah, I need more me. I'm so, unrealized here at this studio.
So,
privilege is unconscious.
Yeah,
Gosh.
pretty much.
So, today on the show, we're going to be filling in on some news of what's been happening the last week.
Yeah.
I'm also going to be doing a quick review of Dead Space.
Ooh.
And Milly's going to be talking about some spoopy stuff.
I am. And I always bring those good quality vintage spoops.
Yeah, vintage spoops.
I'm here for that. I hope you're ready for some vintage spoops of arcade goodness.
Oh, I'm ready.
But you realise how hard it was? I was going through all these spooky urban legends and stuff to do with video games, and I realised I've covered them all on this show.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, you have a
arcade ones.
theme.
I have a theme, okay?
But
If it's not
good.
Lara's butt, it's Spoop.
Yeah.
Haunted,
Fight me.
Yeah.
haunted video games and haunted media is just super interesting.
Yeah, it's
We
great
did
fun.
it at uni. It was
It's actually quite fascinating. I'll probably get into a bit more with Dead Space, but this developer, Glenn Schofield from Dead Space, he talks about how back in 2008 when Dead Space came out, at that time films weren't quite as scary. Films were scarier than video games to a certain extent as a medium, whereas now it's video games are more scary.
Now you
They're
can
an
do it in
interactive
VR.
medium. Yeah,
Yay.
it's
I thought about today while we were when we were talking about what we were going to discuss and stuff. I just thought back to playing Slenderman at school.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
man.
And
Classic Slender.
how it was just so obvious when you weren't doing schoolwork because you'd be screaming.
Yeah. You jump up out of your seat. Oh, I just saw a really cool word font colour. It was
Word
amazing,
art,
miss.
man.
I
Word
love
art.
word
It's
art.
scary how good it is.
Not even word art. Like the little Microsoft clip.
Yeah, he pops up. You're like, ah! Yeah.
You want to play a game?
And then I was looking through games that I had, and I had Deceit, and I remember everyone got really scared about that, but I never ended up playing it. Because I think it's one that you can play in VR, and I was like, no, thank you.
I'm terrified of anything, really. I'm
Yeah.
actually
Me too.
quite a whiz. So, Halloween, as much as I'm excited for all, the cosplay and people dressing up and, it's just a fun time of year, I'm also don't scare me in any capacity. I will hate it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
That's me as well.
I can't even watch people play through scary games on a small screen during the day on the balcony in the light, so I feel more comfortable, and I still am no, I can't deal with it.
Yeah, that's me. I'm watching things with my eyes covered,
But some people love it though. That's the thing. They love it. They're like, I got scared. I want to be more scared. I guess it's the same people that like
Don't.
roller coasters and stuff. They're just like, I love the
You
thrill
see,
of
roller
the
coasters
scary.
are fun because that's adrenaline. Being
Nah.
scared
Yeah,
is
but
I'm
you
gonna
get-
poo.
You get adrenaline from being scared or frightened.
Yeah, but I don't like that
Yeah.
adrenaline.
Well, yeah, the
hurts.
frightening. Because there's very different types of scary video games. You've got ones like Alien Isolation and things like that, where it's kind of like this omnipresent
Oh, man, I've
thing
seen- oh,
that's
yeah.
around.
How many
It
times
combines
are
it
we
really
gonna say
well.
omnipresent today?
Yeah, it's
We've
going
said
to be
it
a
3
word.
times already.
It's going to be our word of the day, I think. But it's one of those things where some of them, they create this, they don't show the monster, so it creates the horror.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, that's really the most preferable, because then
Yeah.
it never actually exists and you don't feel like it's just going to jump out, but it's
Yeah.
always threatening to jump out.
That's nice. I like that.
That's really, really good because it's very
Yeah,
atmospheric.
because then it's your imagination, which is so much more dangerous
Yeah.
than the
Yeah.
actual thing they create.
Exactly.
It's a bit
And-
like Bird Box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just thinking that.
Not that, I mean, there's a lot of different opinions on Bird Box, but you do never see the actual creature.
I just saw the Twitch ads. That's all I saw.
I watched it with Nat. This is an indication of how I do not handle horror. We were watching Bird Box purely because, well, it looked interesting and everyone was raving about it. So I was like, okay, well, let me check this out because I'm, pop culture and cool. Let's
Since
watch
when?
it. So we watched it and we would just skip through parts that started getting a bit too much for me. We're just like, okay, let's just fast forward like 20 minutes, see what happens. We're like, oh, some people are dead. How did that happen? So we have to rewind. So we're chopping the movie
At least
up a
you
lot.
know. You're like, I know what happens now. I can't be scared.
I technically watched it, just not in the right order and sort of half chopped around because I get too freaked out.
Who needs chronological order?
I feel like this is how you would play like choose your own adventure books. You just turn to random pages and go, "Ooh, what's happening? Okay, let's switch to another page. Oh, cool, what's happening?"
My mum used to read me Goosebumps as a kid with Choose Your Own Adventures, and this is probably where the trigger point is. It's like a psychological episode now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my triggering point. It was like I'd have these stories read to me from mum, and then I'd go to sleep terrified. So then, yes,
Seemed like
spoopy
the-
things,
Mum,
Yeah.
not my jam anymore. Not into spoopy.
I don't know. I like the horror games. I don't mind watching horror films. I laugh through a lot of them. I don't know if that's a weird indicator.
It's a bit weird.
A lot of
right?
people
Some
laugh
people
through
do.
horror.
They
I
laugh
think
at horror.
I think it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
But also because I've like done that amount of sort of screenwriting as well, I kind of know a little bit like what's going on.
You know the cliches.
Right.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
how the suspense is
Yeah.
built.
I'm
and
like,
everything.
oh, this is gonna happen, and I'm terrible to watch
In
movies.
3,
Did you-
2, there it is.
Did you play Until Dawn?
No.
You should play that. Because I think it does a lot of the cliched, like, okay, they're doing this thing, which means this is going to happen. But I think some of them, because it's so interactive,
Yeah.
I feel like it's a good game to play with someone else. But then you can also give each other crap for
Don't
missing
point at
up.
me when you say with someone
Yeah,
else.
right. Yeah. If you mess up the inputs, you can like hate each other because you potentially killed somebody because they messed up button inputs.
Right.
But it's also that fear of like what's going to happen to them, what's going to jump out at them, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Just
But
kill
like
them
on
all.
the same level, I hate roller coasters. It's like the adrenaline
Same.
from
Love
from
a roller
horror
coaster.
doesn't bother me, and I like it, and it's like the thrill. But roller coaster, no.
See, I'll jump out of planes, off of
Same.
mountains.
Same.
I'll parachute because I've done all that and I love that. Bungee jump, bring it on.
A rock
But-
climb.
I'm so boring. I just
And then I'm
realized.
like, horror, imaginary stuff. Nah, no thanks.
Yeah, that's me as well.
Mm.
I'm like, I'd rather the real threat.
I
of death.
can't watch
Thanks.
supernatural horror. Supernatural horror hurts my heart.
Yeah.
But then I can watch like a whole serial killer documentary. I'm like, oh, tell me more about this decapitation.
Now see, that's a very different thing. I think it is like.
Oh no, we're
I
opening a
could
can
never,
of worms now.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
We
I
love
could, I
worms.
could never watch like
Don't
supernatural.
look at the clock,
things,
Kochie.
but like the serial killer things were so fascinating, and I don't know why.
Fascinating. I
But
know.
supernatural because it's just in your head.
It's that
Like you
la-
go to sleep and you hear the branches.
I
on
don't
the
like
window
it.
and
I
you're
don't like it.
don't like it. You see the scratching outside the window.
Well, we could go on about this for a while, I feel.
Welcome to
Mhm.
Zed Games,
Spooky.
psychological podcast.
Welcome to Zed Games Halloween special. Let's listen to some news from the last week.
Sorry.
This week in gaming news, Australia is missing out on the multi-billion-dollar video game industry. Unfortunately, the Australian economy has lagged behind the rest of the world in capitalising on the opportunities video game development presents. According to a recent submission to the federal government by the Interactive Games and Entertainment Association, IGEA, Aussie game developers achieved revenues of a little over $118 million and employed 928 workers in 2018. By contrast, Canada generated over $3.5 billion and employed over 21,000 people in the same year. Even New Zealand outstripped revenues from Australia by bringing in $135 million. According to IGAA, there are roughly 2.2 billion video game players around the world, with about half that number in the Asian Pacific. This industry body also mentioned that the video games industry is worth $200 billion. With so much potential in the Australian video games industry, perhaps it's time for the Australian government to look at video game development to help better increase the economy, especially since the farming industry is in the grip of national drought and mining struggling to compete with activists and government red tape. Xbox has paid over $1.7 billion to indie game developers this generation. ID at Xbox was launched in 2014 as a tool for independent developers to publish their titles across Microsoft PC and Xbox One. It's since become a hub for indie games and a great way for players to discover new and unique stories from around the industry. Chris Charla, the director of ID at Xbox, says, "We've paid more than $1.7 billion to independent developers this generation for games that have come through the ID program. There's great commercial opportunity and there's great artist opportunity." Chris highlights the difficulties indie developers have at finding the balance between creative expression and financial costs. While art and passion is important for developers, their games are still at the mercy of their financial circumstances. Chris also says the indie games industry is going to continue to grow, despite its challenges, and we'll continue to see more cool games like Untitled Goose Game and Dead Static Drive in the future. Horror games are one of the most immersive mediums if you're looking for a good fright this Halloween. If you've ever stayed up late playing Silent Hill or Resident Evil, you know that special feeling of terror that so many people love. This month, many fantastic horror games are circulating the web, and if you're looking for a night filled with jump scares and screams, we highly recommend these games. Resident Evil 2, the remake, Until Dawn, Red Dead Redemption, Undead Nightmare, Blair Witch, Amnesia Collection, Metro Exodus, Little Nightmares, Silent Hill 2, Outlast, Dead Space, Slender the Arrival, Alien Isolation, and Five Nights at Freddy's. Hope you all have a trick or treat this Halloween, and that's all this week in gaming news.
Ooh, spooky games.
Yeah, lots of spooky games.
Yeah.
So many spooky games.
So many spoops.
All the sales as well. Like
Yeah.
all the game resellers and the key sellers and things like that will have Halloween sales.
Yeah.
With probably most of those games that you mentioned too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also like Halloween events for like pre-existing games like
Yeah.
Overwatch,
Oh,
Apex,
yeah.
I think Call of-
Fortnite.
Rainbow
Call of
Six
Duty.
Siege.
Yeah, everything's got a Halloween event.
Yep.
Which Overwatch definitely making some bank on me at the moment. 'cause
Oh yeah, all the loot
All the
boxes.
skins.
Overwatch always made money off of me.
I
at
just
Halloween.
want skins. Like some of them, I'm just like, oh, they're amazing.
Mhm.
They're all so pretty.
So then, because I don't have money, I just excessively play the game to get in-game currency
Yep.
to
Yeah.
then purchase the skins, and then I'm like, see, they've trapped me the other way as well,
don't
where I
at
play.
me like this.
Yep.
Don't have-
That's how I
that
unlock
time
all my stuff.
yeah, like that time I woke up, got onto Overwatch, and then next thing I know, it was like midnight. I was like, oh.
The power of not having uni anymore, right? Isn't it? Is it a
Yeah.
weird thing? Like I
It's
did that
so
on the
good.
weekends too. Sometimes, like, because that's my days off,
Yeah.
and it's just wake up, be a potato for the entire day, and I'll just start playing
then
something
look
like
at
The
the time.
Witcher or something like
Yeah.
single player. I'll interact with nobody
Yeah.
and just play it, and then oh yeah, the sun's going down. Wait, is that the sunrise or the sunset? I don't know. I don't know which is
mood.
which. Yeah,
You're a typical
Don't at
streamer.
me like this.
yeah.
Oh, I'm so ready to get back at it. Now that I don't have uni, I don't have
A
a
life.
job.
Cool. Yep.
Woo!
Streaming, but I gotta sort out the internet first.
Yeah.
Well,
We'll
yeah,
just play
that's fine.
single player
It'll
games.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah. As, like,
Which
Witcher
is
and stuff.
mostly what I do.
Yeah.
Same. I have no friends, so.
Wow.
Wow,
Mood.
we're just sitting right here. Millie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
We're
just-
professional acquaintances.
I'm glad you
apparently.
heard that.
No,
Professional
Not
we're
acquaintances.
omnipresent acquaintances.
Can somebody get a tally going? This is number 4.
Number 4. Yeah.
It's all right. We're recording this. We can count back.
There was 2 off air though. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Halloween then. I guess
Spoopy.
everyone's making time and effort for that.
Yeah.
Always.
Absolutely.
It's
It's because
spooky
it's
time.
big in the States.
People don't actually know out there, but Rani is actually dressed up as a witch
Yep.
tonight.
Yeah, she looks
I
so
felt
cute.
like I feel like I need to mention that.
I thought it was Wednesday Addams.
It is Wednesday Addams,
Awesome.
but I can't
Cool.
have the pigtails because I cut off all my hair, and then there
Aw.
was no wig.
You still
So
look
that's
like
fine.
a cute little witch, though.
Yeah.
So you know you're pulling it off.
This
We'll
is
take
just
some
my
photos and put
wardrobe.
it up on the
One
social.
spooky girl.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's do it.
I love Halloween, guys.
Oh, me
Maybe
too.
it's the American in me.
I carved a pumpkin, so it was great.
I went to a Halloween party, but I didn't do anything spoopy. I dressed up as Colonel Sanders.
It
so
was a great.
It was
from
so
because we talked
good.
about it from I Love You, Colonel
Amazing.
Sanders, and I
Yeah.
went, I can do Daddy Sanders.
Daddy Sanders.
Yeah.
I think last year, because I was really late to the Halloween thing. Like every year, I'm like, oh, Nat and I were going to dress up as the Joker and Harley Quinn because that's what we want to do, and then it never happens.
Yeah.
Same this year. But last year, I got invited last minute to a Halloween party, and I was like, I don't really know what to go as. And then last minute, I just like basically dressed in drag. I just put a fake beard on, and then if anyone asked me what I was like, I'm a cisgendered white dude.
Cool.
That's what I was like, just a cis white dude.
Yep.
That's
The,
your.
I'm
I'm
that's
trying,
your-
okay?
The backup costume idea that Sam always has is the T-shirt monster, and what you do is you get googly eyes or big foam like white balls that you draw pupils on, and you tack them to the back of your shirt, and then when anybody asks you what you are, you go, "Oh, I'm a t-shirt monster," and you pull the shirt over your head.
Oh, that's
Cute.
great.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's the exact noise I was thinking it would make too.
There was like a few years ago, I read something like someone didn't know what to wear for Halloween, so they just went as themselves, and people would ask, "Oh my gosh, Milly, your chair just collapsed."
Sorry.
Anyway,
Talking of spooping, that's a bit of a fright right there, yeah.
Just ignore
the,
me.
the ghost in the station is here tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a subscriber for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice. See, you should follow him more.
Oh, thanks.
Anyway, as I was saying, this guy, he just didn't have an outfit, so people were asking him what he was, and he's like, "Oh, I'm a homicidal maniac," because
Yeah.
they look like everyone else. And
Oh
I was
my
like,
god.
Genius.
Damn.
Absolutely
Yeah.
genius.
I'm NPC721. Could you not recognize me? What the hell?
No, you no. If someone asks you, just reply with the sword. It's wonderful. Oh, hello, traveller.
Hello, Trav.
Just pull out a yellow exclamation mark from out of your pocket. I have a quest. Like
Carry
10
a light
berries.
around your head.
Bring me a drink.
All you need to do is get like a little Sims diamond
Yeah.
on top of you.
You're just a
I've seen
custom
that.
sim.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Start talking in Simlish.
The news.
Yeah.
news.
Well, that was part of the news.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Spoopy games.
Spoopy games. And also,
Australia
you know, we need
needs
more
to-
money in the games industry.
Please
Yeah.
That would be great.
hire me.
I mean, I think,
Yeah, we could all get.
We
like,
could all get
real
jobs.
jobs.
well, this could
Oh,
turn
have
into
a real
it.
job,
Gosh, there's a
Koch.
real
The reality is that
Yeah.
this could turn into a real job because
Yeah.
it's games journalism. So-
Please.
Please, yes.
It's an upgrade from Blonalism.
How do
so.
we?
Journalism.
Which we both do.
Hmm.
How do we make the government do anything?
well, I'm sick of dancing in the streets for them, you know?
Just I am the
Seventh
monkey.
time this week.
Yeah.
You know, every day down in that corner. I mean, what?
I don't know about solutions, but I think the more people that talk about the industry and the value in the industry is probably the best way that we can go about it. I mean,
Absolutely.
It'd be cool if we could see it come in with some sort of regulation as well to minimize crunch.
Yeah.
Because, like, we're in a position where we could actually be doing that. If we don't have that sort of established industry like the States and Canada does, then we're in a position where we can make a framework that, I guess, ideally would eliminate what happens with crunch and
Yeah.
the loss of jobs afterwards.
Crunching is sort of like when you smash as much work in the tiniest period of time, then you just basically burn out all your staff.
Yeah.
And then
that's-
afterwards you just let
Or even you
all
work
people end
longer
up with
hours
a lot
as
of
well.
physical
Yeah.
problems,
Yeah.
mental health issues with crunch, and it's a very real industry problem. So, yeah, I mean, I think the best thing that we can do from this standpoint is just make people aware of what's happening for our industry, and it's also like a huge passion of mine is games and people making and creating really positive interactive experiences and. Even on Halloween, I wouldn't say they're positive for me, Halloween games or horror games, but,
Yeah.
you know, it's still a creative outlet and people should have the right to be able to make that without having crunch and having financial strain to the extent that we have. Because we have an incredible music industry here. We have an incredible film industry here. But what about our games industry?
It is a much younger art form, which is, I mean, to play devil's advocate a little bit is one of those things where even in Australia, it's still an up and coming market.
Yeah.
It's still
That's
so
true.
young. But I think it's just more. How about you show how much the industry just makes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even just esports and things, like there's more companies getting into it more than the government is.
Yeah.
Like AFL teams and stuff are getting into esports, and like
Universities.
the other one there, universities are getting into it. Microsoft, like the actual companies are doing it. I was being like, well, I mean, we should try and make more money here because it's an untapped market for all of these really, really passionate developers.
On what
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
were saying about how video games is a young medium or a creative outlet,
Comparatively,
comparatively. However, the film industry has only made something like $4 billion in a year.
Well,
And then the music industry was about half that. And we're about $134 billion is a video games industry.
it's not that much.
Yeah.
God.
It's a lot more than other creative
no, I
mediums.
mean,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
The-
There's so much in it.
I think the
Just a
really,
couple
really
bucks.
interesting thing there as well is that, like, when film was making its breakthrough, Australia was leading. Like
Yeah.
the first ever feature film is an
Ned
Australian
Kelly.
film. Yep.
Yeah.
I know
And
that.
and up until, you know, about this, you would have come across all of this, but up until about the 60s, we were leading, and then we just stopped, and Hollywood took over.
Yeah, I was about to
because-
say, just Hollywood just completely
Yep.
Ramped up production.
Because,
No.
well, what we were focusing on was like these sorts of films that were more politically, I guess, geared and gauged for. But then with music as well, we've always had like a pretty strong sort of, in those industries, we've always been quite strong, and we have been able to lead with what we're putting out of our country and sending out into the world. So it's interesting that video games as a creative medium, when we do have a history of sort of supporting them, hasn't had that same level of support.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what's going on there. Like, why?
Because video games causes violence.
Oh my god. I just did
Damn
an
them
entire
Fortnites.
assignment about this.
Let's not start this.
No.
again.
Well, overall, I think like we've got a lot to work with, and we're moving in the right direction. It's baby steps. Like my mum would say with politics, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So we'll get there, and fingers crossed that we get the funding we need in the industry, because it
And
means
the
something to me.
communication. I think that's it. Like, they need to talk to us about how we want the industry to
Like
be.
us. Like us
Us,
for.
just us.
Us
Yeah,
for
just
specifically.
us.
Specifically us.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Government,
us.
come talk to Z Games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know what's up.
Yeah. Look at you, ScoMo.
Omnipotent, yeah.
Yeah,
there we go.
omnipotent. There we am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we am. What?
There we am. You're listening to Z Games.
Welcome back to Z Games. You were just listening to some pretty intense, spooky music. The first one there was the song Deadlight from, Oxenfree. And then,
game.
Oxenfree, yeah. And then from Earthbound, Mother 2, that was the Gygus battle? Or Gygus battle?
Gygus.
Gygus. Yeah.
Yeah,
Creepy
that's,
stuff.
That's a ride. I'll probably discuss that at some point in the future, but
It's an interesting
Get
effects
some
music can have,
PTSD
I
there.
guess.
well, like the game is so wholesome. Like it's a weird sort of very Japanese like RPG game where you battle against bugs and little people, and you're a kid with psychic powers, and you get to the end, it's like, "Hello, children, it's death time." It's just like, what?
Just shifts into gear death.
And literally, like when you kill the final spoilers, when you kill Gygus, it just screams for
Sweet.
like a solid 2 minutes, like a full on like. like
Horrible.
I'm glad you leaned back for that.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that in the mic. But yeah, it's just, just remember bad memories when I was a little girl. I'm like, what are creepy video games? Let me look some up. Oh my god, okay, nightmares forever. I'm an adult now.
Well, speaking of nightmares.
Nightwears.
Nightwears.
Wearing
yeah.
nights.
Yeah, I like pajamas.
Pajamas are the greatest.
Like nightwear. Speaking of nightwear, I broke Millie.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting. I like pajamas.
Well, I said nightwear, and I was like, well, pajamas are nightwear, right?
Get your Z Games 90s here at Z Games. Here.
I'm just thinking to myself now, I'm like, that could have been the perfect segue until you screwed that up.
Yeah.
Nice work.
Now we need Z Games pajamas.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Z game pajama. Okay, sorry, we're getting sidetracked again. Okay, so speaking of nightmares, Dead Space. And Spoopy. I'm talking about the original,
The
very
OG
first
Spoops.
Dead
Yeah.
Space before it became a RPG, ARPG.
It's basically an action game at this point. Like, I don't play spoopy games, but the amount of people I've watched, like, it goes from being like this kind of atmospheric horror game, like, to a run and gun third person shooter.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
a kind of
okay,
base
that's a
shooter.
transformation.
Yeah,
That
in
really is a-
the terms of 3 games,
Yeah,
because I don't know if different studios worked on it, but
probably.
again, I didn't play it, but that's what it.
Hashtag Transformation Tuesday.
Oh god, Ronnie.
Well,
It's Wednesday, my dudes.
the original Dead Space, I haven't actually played it, for people to know. What I'm actually going to be reviewing is some of the conversation that Glenn Schofield had on a YouTube video called How Dead Space's scariest scenes almost killed the game. So it's sort of more of a developer's perspective and how they made it as terrifying as it is.
Neat.
Glenn Schofield is the co-founder of Sledgehammer Games and the creator/director of Dead Space. And it was published by EA and released in October 2008. And the genre is survival horror.
Yeah.
Oh
Definitely.
no, that's the worst.
Yeah, so it's quite intense. I'll just give people a bit of
so
a...
intense.
All I can think about is Slenderman, guys.
It's worse.
Well, I'll give you a bit of a description of the game. So the player controls Isaac Clarke, who is a ship...
Space Marine, basically.
He's a ship system engineer who must fight his way through a mining starship infested with an alien monsters.
Yeah.
The crew has been slaughtered and their corpses reanimated into creatures known as necromorphs. Various types of necromorphs appear throughout the game, each with different abilities and requiring different tactics to defeat. The game is played from an over-the-shoulder third-person perspective.
Yeah. It's like here.
Yeah.
Action cam.
Yeah, so it's quite terrifying.
Yeah.
And space stuff seems to freak me out the most. For some reason.
Is that a difference in realism? Where
I
it's
love
like
me
it's space,
some
so it
space
could
horror.
be like space aliens.
It just seems like plausible because I know my reality on Earth, but I don't know my reality in space. You know what I mean? Anyway,
Space.
so Glenn sort of talks about the sort of major points that he focused on when he was developing Dead Space. So for the rules of Dead Space from this YouTube video where he's having an interview, he talks about having no HUD. He wanted no HUD, which is no UI that pops up on the screen, so that everything is in the game's reality, which is in gaming terms a diegetic UI. And they got that idea from scuba divers with the tank on their backs.
Yeah,
And
I
then-
remember it
yeah.
very clearly.
And then the other part is that the main character never talks. Isaac never talks. Dismemberment was supposed to be one of the biggest features of the game. They wanted a lot of that. And all big moments were to be interactive. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to like the dismemberment side of things, when they were doing the design, like weapon design, monster design, they were all sort of created with dismemberment in mind, including the player. So there's like little sketches where they're like, okay, this is how many sections you can sever on the player and on the monsters. So there's so many different ways to have a death sequence or like killing sequence.
That's pretty. I like that though.
Yeah, I like
It's
it too.
it's very graphic. If you've watched any or played any of it,
those necromorphs are just in my brain forever.
they're terrifying.
Yeah, it's like the
Creepy design.
Okay, for those of you who haven't played Dead Space and aren't near a computer, just imagine like a big spider, then put a face on it, a human face, and then just like hang bits of flesh and stuff hanging off the spider.
And also the heads fully twist around too and
like
stuff.
the heads are upside down and like there's blood and they just go and like they come for you and try to cut you in half.
They're also fast moving.
They're terrifying.
They're not
Oh, God.
slow moving.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
Ryan
no.
just looked them up.
Rani's
Quick
figured it
Google
out.
search
They
will.
are terrifying. Like imagine
help.
like the worst spider you've ever seen and then put a human corpse around it.
Ugh.
It is horrible. And those are coming for you at a high speed.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, Kochie knows. I know.
You don't need to show me photos. I've seen enough.
They're terrifying, but it adds to the horror though because it's just like, oh my god, abomination.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it.
Yeah, me too. I love it, but I hate it at the same
that would
time.
be terrifying.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how people feel about horror. I love it and hate it at the same time. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
Anywho.
how I feel about horror.
So with Dead Space, when Glenn talks about all the big moments are interactive, something that you might actually remember, Millie, is that so Glenn sort of talks about this, that there are no cutscenes. He didn't want any cutscenes in Dead Space. Everything is interactive all the way through. You're involved in every single process and part of the story. So they sort of tell the story through video logs and create big scenes that the main character can act upon. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing that they wanted to do with this was there was a particular scene that was also one of their largest or hardest parts of development, which was the drag tentacle scene. I don't know if you remember that. It was also apparently one of the most terrifying scenes
In video games.
in video game history.
Yeah.
And also almost broke the game. Like they struggled like a lot to actually perfect this. It took them months to get it right. They actually at one point were thinking of just cutting the scene or changing it. And Glenn was like, no, we are making this happen. So basically the drag tentacle, what they want to do where a tentacle comes out from around the corner, it grabs you and flips you on your back. And then Glenn talks about how he wanted this to be like the scariest moment. So everyone on his team had their roles to build the scene. However, they just couldn't get it to work, even with all the roles and everything that everyone was doing. It took them so long to fix. But essentially this thing comes out, grabs your leg, flips you on your back and starts dragging you very quickly through like a weaving corridor. And you as the player, or Isaac, you have to shoot the tentacle arm off before it drags you into this hole and just destroys you pretty much in a horrific dismemberment kind of way. So this just, which apparently they spent months working on this. for
Yeah.
about 40 seconds of the game, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
considered one of the most terrifying experiences in a horror game still.
Yeah.
So that's quite impressive, the amount of effort they put
Coming
in for
from a
that.
game developer, like, yeah, I can see the amount of work and camera
the
work they would have had
animating
to do.
and the breaking it down.
And
Like,
having to program it so it's at a certain point so your arms aren't, like, broken like this.
But
Like,
yeah,
the
you're not
character models,
clipping
like,
through the
flip
other
up.
models and stuff like that.
Because
Yeah.
going like this, like through a winding pathway, can end up in so much clipping and that sort of thing. Like somehow they managed to make.
and also
I
something
think I need
else.
to play it.
Ugh, Dead Space hurts me.
Well, even
Remember
if,
the game's from 2008.
even if you don't play it,
Yeah,
if you watch
It's
some
still
playthroughs,
spooky, gosh.
I'll watch some playthroughs. I'll play it. I don't know.
Gosh,
there's
it's
so
just
many
bitter
things
and
to
old.
like.
That's a mood.
Anyway, so sound design as well. Don Becker and Glenn collaborated on creating sound for Dead Space, and they actually recorded the sound of a train pelting through a tunnel. You know, with that screeching metal
Yeah.
and the wind howling. There's actually this one scene where this sort of one section where you go up to an airlock and it goes,
Oh.
and then it says open, and then you open the door. And it's just a wall of sound, which is the sound of a train going through. It's been
Yeah.
modified a little
Changed.
bit and
To be more
tweaked with.
spacey.
But it's just blasting your ears off, and people just running through this section. Nothing's actually happening, but the sound is so loud, so threatening, so disturbing and uncomfortable
And you're
that you
like,
just
oh
you're
God,
terrified.
Oh God, oh God,
No,
oh
no,
God.
no, no, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no.
Like closing your eyes.
So, if anyone wants to play Dead Space, I
Put a nappy on, you'll need it.
highly
Like for
recommend.
the amount of time that you play it, just like sit there the entire time. So you go in the bathroom? No. Or yes.
Yes, as I am right now.
I believe Dead Space is on. Is it Xbox One? No,
No,
it's
2008.
PC.
It'd probably be on PC if anything.
Yeah.
Probably on Origin.
It might have re-released, maybe.
Well, Dead Space 2's on Steam at the moment.
So it's probably on
It's
Steam.
probably on
Okay.
Steam.
Probably only for PC.
And again, it'll be
Or
Cheap.
Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, maybe?
yeah.
Probably.
It might have been remastered, you never know. Or just
Oh, yeah, if
I'll
it's
have
or
to
on
get back
backwards
to you on that.
compatible.
Yeah, it might be.
Anyway,
So I brought a little quick spook for y'all because I love me a haunted arcade cabinet
Yes.
and I always bring the goods. Okay.
Yes.
okay, I'm prepared.
So this is my second sports spook as well, which is weird.
The second one.
Yeah, because I did Madden as well.
Ah,
Wait, it's a spooky sport?
Yeah, get ready.
Sports is just spooky.
I hope
in
you're
general.
ready. So Come On and Slam NBA Jam came out in '93,
uh-huh.
and one of the players
My birth.
featured in the game was Drazen Petrovic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So remember Petrovic.
Sure, got it.
Petrovic was a Croatian basketball player, and he played for multiple teams throughout his 8-year career. In June 1993, Petrovic was involved in a traffic accident where a semi-trailer cut across the median in the Autobahn and crashed into his car, killing Petrovic instantly. If you notice, NBA Jam was already in arcades in 93, and it was too late to patch out Petrovic from the game. Mark Turmel, one of the devs of NBA Jam, mentioned, quote, "We had all these coin-operated machines around, and one night we were playing Mortal Kombat, and all of a sudden, NBA Jam machine next to it just started calling out, 'Petrovic! Petrovic!' And it only happened after he died."
Whoa, you're giving me goosebumps.
This is a very quick one, but it's suitably
alone in the studio.
hurty. To this day, the devs claim that it was something funky in the software, and if you have an original NBA arcade cabinet, every once in a while it'll just yell out, "Petrovic!"
Wow.
Imagine that in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Well, that's creepy.
And because you know how arcade cabinets, they just sort of run
Yeah.
when you're not playing them, you haven't put a coin in, like it'll just be playing like, oh, you know, then he passes to this player and then he shoots, he scores, then it just go, "Petrovic!"
Oh my
It just
goodness.
yells it out after he died, but it yells it out in such like a wouldn't say spooky, but it's like the startling tone of like, you know, and then they pass to Jordan, and then but it goes Petrovic randomly halfway through, and it only happened after he died, and it's just so like,
That's crazy.
excuse me.
I love haunted games.
Yeah, me too. And that when I first saw this, I was like, sorry, what? Because like all these other sort of arcade cabinets, like Polybius, that's fake. But what was the other one? One featuring Evil Otto.
Mhm.
Like that turned out to be had a grain of truth in it and it killed 3 people. Go back and listen to those episodes.
Okay.
Like, those ones are like, oh, urban legend, and then they killed people. But this one, someone actually died, and it feels like they've possessed these cabinets.
Wow.
Because they couldn't be patched out.
Well, that's quite alarming.
Yeah. Told you it was a little spook, but it spooked me enough to bring it in.
I like this segment so much. I feel like you should do this more.
Yes.
I do it often.
Good.
Before you were here, most of the
Well,
past
you know.
episodes, I was bringing the spoops.
I'm the new head honcho, so I've missed out on all the cool things you guys were doing before I came along.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll bring in some more.
Is there any particular story that you like the most, or?
I really enjoyed the Polybius episode that I did
Okay.
because there was so much depth to it, which I didn't know about. And I really enjoyed the creepypasta, so it's incredibly fake.
Oh yeah, creepypasta. Yeah,
Incredibly fake, but I feel like this one had so much effort put into it rather than just like, and then the doll was bleeding from its eyes and blah blah blah. Like,
Okay.
like blah 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 blah. I'm 12 and this is scary. This one's called Ben Drowned. I don't know
Okay.
if you've heard of it. It's the Majora's Mask creepypasta, where this kid, it starts off very creepypasta-esque, where he found like a cartridge from some creepy old man and then played it, but there was already a file on the Majora's Mask cartridge that he tried to delete, but then it kept coming back. And it was owned by this
Whoa.
kid called Ben, and the Elegy of Emptiness statue would keep following him around, and then Link would just periodically just die, and then just look at the screen like,
Oh my goodness.
like,
You
but
did
he-
this.
Yeah, but he'd be bent at the waist, like looking at the
Oh,
screen.
that's so creepy.
Yeah, but literally someone made a full game to go with that creepypasta, so that's one of my favourites.
Wow.
So go back and listen to that episode. I'm not sure what number it is, but I'm pretty sure it's listed as like Millie brings the drowns or something.
All
Because
right.
Cringy was very
Cool.
good at naming episodes. But yeah,
Well, thanks for sharing that.
I'm always here for the spoops, and I will make you cry.
Fantastic. I'm all about tears on Halloween. Well, guys, we're coming to the end of our show, and I think we've done Halloween some justice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave you with something quite terrifying.
Yeah.
Just because it's fun.
Your life story.
Well,
and then
I
the
don't-
day that... Yeah.
September 4th, 93.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry.
You're as old
Yeah,
as
sorry
you're
about
as old as that cabinet
Sorry.
or that NBA Jam.
Now everyone has to listen to
Come
my
on
voice.
and slam. And welcome to the jam, Petrovic.
Oh no. Anyway, I'm going to plug the show and then we'll play that. So see you guys later.
Bye.
Is Z Games twice a week still not enough for you? Check us out on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as @ZEDGamesAU. Follow us for the best in gaming news, review previews, and memes. We post a lot of memes.